Hello, Friendly Man here once again, and we're going to do part 2 on learning how to play chess with Fritz and Chester. Like I said in some other videos, I read every comment that I ever get on every video. I make sure I read everything. Okay, someone made a request that they just want the video of this without my commentary. Unfortunately, I live in Canada, and we don't have fair use. We have a thing called fair dealings. And it's a lot more stricter than fair use. I mean, it's really strict when it comes down to copyright issues. Now, Canada is one of the least of the Fair Dealings Acts because a long time ago they tried to take these guys, they tried to take a lawyer group to court, and they lost in court, and the fair dealings kind of got abolished because of that. So it's very, very close to fair use, but it's not. It's still more strict. It's Britain. It's from Britain. Our laws comes from. So I can't really give you footage without me talking over it, because they would copyright my channel, and boom, I'm out of there, and there's big fines, there's actually even prison time. So that's why I'm commenting over the video, so I can claim fair dealings if any lawsuit happens. Okay, so let's get this video on its way.
Learn to play chess with Fritz and Chester.
Okay, the last time we were here, we just made it to the telegym. And so now let's go to the lightweight room to see if we can do the light weights. Okay, I didn't lock this yet. It should be done, or am I supposed to?
Aha! You want to weigh yourselves again, do you?
No.
Wow! It gives you butterflies!
I didn't do that. Any of the, what's it called, thing in the telegym. Okay, the first one. Okay, I'll do the first one. You talking? Okay.
Hey, you're jumping the gun a bit. Try clicking on the king's crown.
So there is a sequence that you have to go through. I knew that was going to happen. So let's hit the king's crown.
Let's get down to some training. The king always starts.
That's me then.
Exactly. Kings can go anywhere and fight, like sumo wrestlers. Slow but strong. Do you actually know what a sumo wrestler is?
Of course we do.
Being royalty, they only move one square at a time. Of course, the king also has his entourage. I'll keep it simple and show you using 2 pawns. Can I have 2 pawns, please?
On our way.
It's like in football, with all the players in the same team wearing the same colors. And of course, they never capture their own players.
What do you mean by capture?
When a king knocks an opponent's piece off, you say it's been captured. That pawn can't play anymore.
Why does it have to be me all the time?
There always has to be at least one square between the two kings. They can never stand right next to each other. So they can never move onto these squares.
Oh, just like with the sumo wrestlers.
Exactly. Except you can't just push your opponent's king off the mat.
But you can force him into a corner, can't you?
Yes. Here you can see two kings standing opposite each other. This is called opposition. If you stay as close as you can to the other king, you can really annoy him. Can you see? My purple king is in a tight spot. He can't get away from the edge of the board. Let's go. The first king to sit on his throne is the winner.
That's easy.
Maybe, maybe not. But one thing's for sure. You'll only manage it if you can push back the other king. Remember what that's called?
Nope.
Opposition. Let's start. You're white, and I'll be purple.
Okay, so here's the thing about opposition. This is something that they did not explain in the video. Okay, so here's White's king, and he's supposed to sit over here. And then this guy's king, I can't pick him up. He's going to start talking. Well, I'm supposed to get onto that throne. Now, opposition is something, this is where they forgot to fail to mention in the video. So, it's how you meet the king at what time. If it's his move and he has to move away, that means you have opposition. But if it's your move and you have to move away, then he has opposition. Okay? So this is a good way for people to learn on how to push somebody back. Okay. So let's go here. So if I go here right away, he can go up, and then I can, what's it called? Have a little, I can go up one more. Okay, now I get opposition. Watch this.
Bingo! Do you remember what that is called?
Oppormization, or something like that.
Opposition.
Exactly.
See, he gets pushed away. See, that's the key. Now I can go in. And now I'll be able to sit on the chair. Oh,
Opposition.
but that's okay. Boom.
I've won.
Hey, that was a little too fast for me.
Then let's do it again.
Now, okay, this is very important. Another thing about opposition. To keep opposition, you can actually have opposition from a long distance
Your
away.
turn.
So, okay. He's on a white square, I'm on a white square. So I can go on a white square. Now, if I go here right away, he gets opposition. So, what I do is, I play what we would call like a waiting move. I play here. Now, that was a mistake on his behalf because now I can get opposition. Boom. Now I'll get opposition again. Now I can run for the goal.
I think I've got the hang of it now.
No, you don't.
Good. But let's practice a bit more to be on the safe side.
Yeah. This is a very tricky thing to learn about opposition. But you need to learn this. Okay, white square, white square. Okay, he goes on a dark square. I go on a dark square. Okay, he moved into quickly. Now I can...
Opposition.
Now I can give him opposition again. Now I can run for the goal. See how far he's back? This is a good way to learn opposition.
Okay, I think we can move on. You now know what a king can do, and so I've got a little present for you.
Wow, great trophy. I wonder if it can go in the dishwasher.
What does it say on it?
A few words of wisdom. At the start, the king is wise and lets the others fight. At the end, he wants the prize and boldly shows his might.
There's my trophy case. Okay, let's go back. So, like I was saying in opposition. Okay, you have to learn how to use opposition to protect your pawn so you can be able to queen. In this situation, you didn't really have too much of a goal here just to sit on a chair, but it is very important to learn. And that's just the basics of opposition. There are some deep stuff in opposition you're going to learn sometimes in mill game or sometimes in advanced positions. So something to learn, something to keep your mind into. Okay, let's continue on.
In the duel, you'll have a whole load of pieces that you can move, and you have to give them their orders.
Hey, cool.
A rook has straight sides, and so it moves in a straight line.
It's like chasing the spiders at Tremblina's Save-A-Pennies.
It can move as far as it wants until something gets in its way, like the white king here. If the rook wants to get to the square with a flag on it, it has to take an indirect route, and that takes 1,
2,
3.
4 moves.
Can't the White King just move over a little? That would be much quicker.
Well, you're smarter than I thought. I was just about to explain that. If the White King moves to the side, he leaves the path clear for the rook. And then you only need 1, 2 moves to get where you want to. And now, here's the million-dollar question. What do you do if one of your opponent's rooks is in your way?
Don't take it.
Can't you just bash it out of the way?
No.
Good idea. I'll do that. Ta-da!
Too late. If you move there, the other rook can take you.
That's the reason why you
So
didn't
always
take it.
think carefully first.
Always check if that opponent can
If I
be...
take the other king with my rook, have I won?
Slow down, slow down. You can't just take a king. You can only threaten him. That's what we call check.
I get you.
You'll lose a piece.
When
Don't,
a king is in
don't
check,
take pieces.
he has to get out of it as quickly as possible.
And what if there isn't a way out?
That's called checkmate, and you've won. Look here.
Wait a minute. Isn't that opposition?
Exactly. And by doing that, we can stop King Purple from getting away.
Now, they're not playing all the best moves here. Just
And
letting you
now
know
the
that.
rook has its big chance. Checkmate.
I don't believe it.
I'm afraid it is, though. The king has to escape because he's being threatened. But he can't, because there aren't any escape routes left.
Now, this isn't
He
the way
can't go
I
here
teach.
because the rook would be threatening him.
And he can't go there because he's not allowed to get that close to the other king.
Right. He can't budge an inch. Checkmate.
I do the corral method. Corral method is a lot better than doing it this
Now
way.
it's your turn. You've almost won here. One move with the white rook, and black is mated. Try it.
Check. Checkmate. A rook like this can be really useful.
I wish we were already this far against King Black.
We'll make it, don't worry.
this is the problem with a little bit of this. They're just going to show you a lot of checkmates on how to do it. They won't show you how to get to this square. There is a technique. Like I was saying, I used the corral method. The method they're using is it's called the pushback method. Both methods are good. One just takes a little bit more understanding than the other. The corral method I like a little bit better. It does help for understanding.
Hey, is that right? Did I really checkmate him?
You're quite talented, young lad. Checkmate! You've done it!
Oh yeah, I could change the pieces to something else. To ordinary pieces.
Well done! As a prize, here's another trophy with a clever rhyme. At the start, the rook hangs about, but in the end, he knocks the king out.
Okay.
My mother sometimes goes to a gym like this, but that's more a matter of calorie burning than brain bulging.
Okay, they're not. Okay, I think everything's done in this room. Let's go over here. Okay, let's go with pawns.
One thing at a time. We'll come to that later.
How'd you get to be the trainer here anyway?
I've watched generation after generation of kings training here. That way even a puny sewer rat like me can pick up a few tricks.
And what's next?
The bishops.
Why is the bishops on a toilet?
Bishops can only move diagonally.
Oh, we know that from smashing the toilets.
A bishop can move as far as he likes. A short way or a long way. Main thing is diagonally and only in one direction.
And what does the bishop do if another piece is in the way?
Then he has to make an emergency stop.
And what if it's a purple rook?
Then he can just push him off. Bam!
Are bishops dangerous?
Sure, they can put the king in check. See how he's threatening you now?
But that's not me.
Better get out of here.
Yeah.
Good choice. The bishop can't get us here. We're on a dark square, and he can only move along the light ones.
Well spotted. And that's why the bishop has a twin brother. One of them covers the light squares. The other one, the dark squares. Together, they're a strong team.
Oh man, we're in check. Let's get away fast.
That's the only square we can move to.
And mate, you're in check, and you can't move to any other square.
So there's
You
a
can't go
technique
there,
to do this.
because my king would threaten you.
King and bishop are guarding this one.
And his twin brother's guarding this square.
The flight
That's
square.
really mean. Oh well, that won't happen to me again.
So,
Come on, let's see what you've learned.
so they're
Can you
not
make the
really
enemy
showing
king just
you.
one single brilliant move using your bishop?
Let's see.
On how the pattern is of getting there. There is a technique that you must learn how to use the two bishops. Like I said in the last video, what's it called? I made a video of the technique, so it's called Bishop Beginner. If you want to check that out. So these are probably just going to be quick, simple checkmates, but at least you're learning on how to checkmate with the two
Your
bishops.
turn. Great! As you can see, it's easy to checkmate your opponent's king using 2 bishops. 1 isn't enough, I'm afraid. Let's try again.
I can't believe it. We've won.
Well, can you feel the muscles in your brain bulging?
I thought that was a bump.
I thought I was going to this square for a second. That's good.
Absolutely. You've won. Okay, you seem to know what to do with bishops. So, here's a new trophy for your collection.
I suppose there's another of those old sayings on it.
Sure, listen to this. 2 bishops. What a useful pair. Move diagonally from square to square, 1 on black and 1 on white. That's how they help you win the fight.
Oh, this is all too much for me.
Okay. Now let's go.
One thing at a time. We'll come to that later.
Okay, beast. How about that?
I think I'm almost ready to see what this King Black is made of.
Not quite. There are still a few things left to learn, like how the knight makes its moves. The horse is called a knight, and the knight is the only one that can jump over other pieces.
Like in horse jumping.
And it moves in a strange way, like the letter L. 2 forward and 1 to the side, in any direction. So let's see where the knight can go.
2 forward and 1 to the side. It can move here.
2 forward and 1 to the side. And here too. And here too.
And here.
I've got another one.
2 forward and 1 to the side. Doesn't matter which direction.
Right. That was the last possibility.
Wow, that looks like a wheel.
Exactly. A knight wheel. The knight feels best when it can move to any of the points on the wheel. So, you can't do it very well here.
You also have to know is when a knight moves onto, you'll always move to an opposite color. So it's on a dark square, it's moving to a light square.
That knight wheel's got a flat tire.
That's right. And get him in a corner, and he'll have a nervous breakdown.
So every time you move to a different color,
So give your knight as much room to move as possible by placing him in the middle.
And he can capture other pieces too, can't he?
Of course. Like this, for example.
Great! And the king will soon be checkmate too. There isn't a single escape route.
you can't force checkmate
Well
with 2
done,
knights.
my knight in shining armor.
2 forward and 1 to the side. Click on all the squares your knight can get to.
So, like I was saying, the knight, when he jumps over, this will be an odd number. So that's 1 is odd. Okay? Every
I've
light
missed something.
square is going to be an even number. So that's something you have to know. So he's on a light square, and he goes to a light square, it's going to be an even number.
That's right. You found all the moves that are possible from here.
So, but if he goes to a dark square, that's going to be an odd number of jumps. something you got to keep yourself in mind when you're training, like when you're looking at saying, like, how many jumps is it going to take for me to get there? Oh, it's an odd number. It's probably going to be a high number. It's usually in the 3 category. Most of the light in the squares are all going to be, what's it called? Are going to be 2s. There are certain squares that you have to be aware of, like the ones that are like right beside them. Those are going to be 3s. Okay? This light square right here and this one right here is going to be a 4. Those are high numbers. So these are good squares to put your king on in a chess game. Something to think about when you're playing chess.
That's it then. The full circle.
So you got to keep where the knight can move.
A trophy for our horse jumpers as a reminder of Chester the Cheshire Rat.
Has it got another clever rhyme?
Yep, a knight on the rim is ugly and dim.
Oh dear.
Now I'll see if we can go over to the pawns.
One thing at a time. We'll come to that later.
I'll never go into the pawns. Cool, okay.
Are there only ever men in these weird duels?
No way. The most powerful person of all is the queen. The queen can move in any direction as far as she likes. That's the difference between her and the king.
Typical of us women. We girls are just more sporty than boys.
Nonsense. Boys just let girls get ahead every now and then.
Yeah, 'cause they don't stand a chance against us.
No, because they're cleverer.
No, they aren't.
Yes, they are.
Ah, cut it out, you guys. All we're interested in here is the queen and how she can move. Along the diagonal, and then straight over here, and the rooks are no more.
The rook made a pretty stupid move, though.
That's true, but you're only supposed to be finding out how the queen captures other pieces. And you know that now, don't you?
Yep.
The queen can make tons of different moves, so she can wear out the king and checkmate him without too much difficulty.
Just like at our house. My dad's always worn out when my mom goes off at him.
Look out! Here she comes. And the king's in check straight away.
Checkmate, no less.
That's what we girls are like.
Exactly. The king is guarding these 3 squares. And the queen is threatening both of the other escape routes.
I think we've got it.
In this exercise, you have to mate the enemy king using your queen in one single move.
So like I said, with the rooks, you're basically, this is like going to be like a rook checkmate, but you're kind of using the same strategy that you were using to pick up the flowers. And all the other things they made reference, oh, you know, this is like Save or Penny, you know, like the Pac-Man game. Or, oh, this is like the sumo wrestlers. They didn't mention it this time. But this is like picking up the flowers.
That's checkmate if ever it was. You used the queen with real skill.
Oh, there's a couple mates here. There's one here, one there, and here.
Yes, you've won.
Support mate.
Mate.
That was expertly done. Well mated. My compliments. You already play as if you've been doing this for years.
I have.
There's one mistake that a lot of beginners make, but not you.
That's a change. I usually make every silly mistake there is to make. And what is the mistake then?
Oh, stalemates. Ugh.
It looks as though I ought to win here, doesn't it?
That's true. But often the silliest mistakes are made on the simplest of moves. Now, unfortunately, you haven't won. It's a draw.
A draw?
It's also called stalemate. Probably because you'd have to sit like this until everything went stale.
But why isn't it checkmate? There's nowhere left for King Purple to go.
That's right. All the squares he could move onto are attacked by the queen. But the square he's on isn't attacked. And that's the small but important difference between stalemate and checkmate. If you're lucky, stalemate can save you from defeat, but it can also spoil the best of victories for you.
And which move would have been better?
All the way down.
This one. The king can't get away because all the squares around him are attacked.
And the square he's on is also attacked. So it's checkmate.
Precisely. And that's the subtle difference between a win and a draw.
Okay. I hate this stalemate thing.
Right, you two. Should we be really silly for a change?
Shouldn't be too difficult for Fritz.
Hey, what do you mean?
Let's try and move the queen so that we reach stalemate. And we've got to do it in one move.
This is what I don't like about this, like learning about stalemates. You shouldn't be really learning about stalemates. And after you do a stalemate, an annoying little siren comes up. It's like, oh, okay, let's do some stalemates.
Stalemate. Under normal circumstances, that would be annoying. But that's what we were aiming to do.
Let's go end soon. Ugh. Dun, 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 dun,
dun. Stalemate. Congratulations.
There we go.
Now I'm going to give you a new task.
Hopefully the training is going to finish. Sometimes you don't know when the training is going to end. But I need the trophy.
That's exactly right. I think you've had enough practice at checkmating and stalemating with the queen.
There we go.
And here's another trophy for you, and a few wise words. Checkmate's great. Stalemates we hate.
Okay, now I think.
And now for the pawns.
They're those oddballs from Pleasantville, right?
Oh, you know them already. Then there's not a lot left for me to tell you. Pawns can only move forwards, and only one square at a time.
In Pleasantville, they were sometimes allowed to move forward 2 squares.
You know about that already? You're right. On its first move, a pawn can go forward 2 squares, but it doesn't have to.
And a pawn can only capture a piece by moving diagonally. Pawns capture side on.
Hey, what do you need me here for? Yes, if 2 pawns are standing face to face, nothing happens. They can only capture another piece which is diagonally in front of them.
Away with you! We already know all about that.
But there's one thing I bet you don't know. In the olden days, pawns were only ever allowed to move one square at a time. Moving 2 squares was introduced later.
And then?
Then you could simply move a pawn past another pawn without getting into any danger.
Very practical.
No, unfair. That's why en passant was introduced. It's French and means in passing. When a pawn moves forward 2 squares in passing, the enemy pawn can behave as though the other pawn had only moved forward 1 square. It can capture the pawn on the very next move.
In other words, it can get back at him. What was it called again? Impatience?
En passant, in passing.
There might even be a few experts who don't know this rule.
Pawn promotion.
And now it's time to show you a bit of magic.
Oh, should I say abracadabra?
No. I'll show you how you can turn your pawns into other pieces. It's called pawn promotion. When your pawn has managed to get across to the other side of the board, you can choose another piece to take its place. You can choose whichever piece you like, apart from a second king, of course.
I'll take the queen. That's obvious, isn't it? She's the most powerful.
Yes, usually the queen is the best choice. Theoretically, you could change all your pawns for queens, and then you'd have a whole harem of 9 queens on the board. But sometimes it's better to choose a different piece. What do you think would be best here?
Knight.
Knight, I'd say.
Exactly. Because then you've mated king purple quicker than you can snap your fingers. Sometimes a little is worth a lot.
That looks pretty complicated.
But it isn't really. The knight threatens the king and stops him being able to get away over
The
here.
pawn also does that.
And the bishop is keeping watch over the other squares that the king could flee to.
True, it's really not half as difficult as it looks.
Okay.
Now I want you to show me what you're made of. There are 2 rows of pawns opposite each other here, and it's your job to get one pawn right across to the other side so that it can be exchanged for something different.
And what if we checkmate the king on the way?
Then you've won, of course.
Okay, let's go. E4. King involved. Always get your king involved. Okay, I can take here and that will push the thing away, or I can take here. But I am going to do this instead. Okay. I got this pawn protecting that guy, so that should be good. Now I can break. Now do a passant. Now clean up the other side. See, he's keeping me from going forward, but it doesn't make a difference because, look, I got some pawns I can go for. Now push them out. Always grab the promoting square. There we go.
Now choose a piece to replace the pawn. Probably a queen, but maybe a knight would be better. I have to say, you seem to have gotten the hang of everything. At least as far as pawns are concerned, that is.
Now we're gonna get another of those lovely trophies.
May I present you with your trophy? And, of course, the timeless words of wisdom. Pawns may well seem small and frail, but without them, you'd be doomed to fail. If you want, you can now continue the game and finish me off.
I can usually would finish them off, but I don't want to make this video too long, so I'm just gonna say no thanks. Okay, now we can go to the next level.
Well, let's see what the chessometer has to say.
Hold tight, Bianca.
Congratulations. The chessometer says you're not lightweights anymore, and you're ready to go on to become middleweights.
At last! Wow, there's lots more to do here.
That's right. This is where the middleweights train, and that is what you are now.
Okay. What? Call that it? Well,
Are you fritzed out already? Do you want to stop?
thanks for watching this video, and we'll watch. Hope I can do this again with you very soon. Okay.